I'm gonna cut that out. Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. I'm your host. We are broadcasting high above Pacific Center Station, and tonight I'm turning back the clock to when Atlanta was known as Terminus, serving as the connection point for all trains and travelers upon them. This terminal, gate to gate, is open for the start of the MLB season. I've been waiting ages to say those words. I've got guests from all over, some now, some may be popping in. They're all going to be discussing the same thing, what we'll be watching and waiting for. I have been. We'll start with introduction of who's here, your name, where you're zooming in from, and how you plan to watch your favorite team this year. I will be watching the Mets via the MLB app. Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm broadcasting from Beverly, Massachusetts, which is North Shore, Boston. And I'll be watching the Boston Red Sox on Nesson and any other on Fox or whatever network they are playing on, but mostly on Nesson.
On Nesson, you got
New
the both
England,
of them.
yeah,
New England, right? New England Sports
New England
Network,
Sports
right?
Network. Yeah,
The
yes,
Sports Network, right?
yeah.
You can still slip into a Boston accent every now and again. Chris, what you got?
Chris, I'm calling in from New Jersey, just 7.5 miles from the house that Jorge built in the Bronx. And I won't be watching my baseball team this year. We discussed a little bit previously that I don't know if I'm going to sign up for the Gotham Sports app, and I might just listen to a lot of Yankee games and then watch highlights later because I'm sick of paying for everything.
Makes sense.
I'm the last angry man.
Who's doing the radio for you? I was gonna say, is Walden Susan still there or
Susie is in her 40th season. She couldn't remember if it was her 40th or 41st before on the radio. And Dave Sims used to be the longtime Seattle announcer. He took over last year. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's
pro,
good.
Pro's pro.
So
Yep.
you might actually, because he's coming home, so you might actually.
Well, this is the second season.
Yeah, oh, this is the second time. Okay,
and right, you get at least one coherent person in the booth.
Yeah.
Because for the last 15 years, it's been two incoherent idiots.
Basically, sorry, I'm not a big fan of John Sterling, but he's got a bunch of awards. He's got a bunch of awards. We'll start with the easiest question. The top of awards for the last four, unquestionably Judge and Shohei and Skeens and Scooble. You guys see anybody breaking that Mount Rushmore for this season? Chris?
It's hard to. And I've been looking at previews the last couple of days, and even the real experts are like, well, who else are you going to pick? I mean, and listen, I'm a Yankee fan. I get it. Okay. Judge was the deserving MVP last year, and there was a guy in his league with 60 home runs, and he still won the MVP. So it's like, why would you, if you're a betting man, which I'm not, why would you put it on anyone else? In the American League, National League, I will make an argument maybe for your guy.
Which would be Juan Soto for those not watching.
Which would be Polanco, the first baseman. No.
Yes.
Juan Soto.
Polanco could have a great year, yeah. No,
and listen, because of his multiple abilities and depending on how strong the Cubs are, I mean, Peter Crow Armstrong's the guy who could win an MVP. He is. And I'm not pouring it on as a, as you giving up on him. No. I mean, it's fine. I know.
I hear. No. I'm saying I hear PCA as a potential. I don't.
He has all-star MVP like ability.
Mark, as a Red Sox fan, I'll say the name that I've heard as far as the possible AL MVP is Roman Anthony, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are hopping on that wagon. He's I don't know. He's got to be, his plate discipline is great. He had a couple big home runs in the World Baseball Classic. He's still only 22 years old, so there's still time to I guess grow and get better. But if he can play up to the potential, which would be like a 30 to 40 home runs, 400 on base percentage, and they compete for a playoff spot, possibly the division, then I could see that argument. But another guy that I in the National League that can possibly meet with those, hang with those guys is if he's healthy, is Ronald Acuna, and just look back at his
Yeah.
season from 2023 where
Yeah, the
Well, that's
40-70
one
season.
of the 5 best seasons in MLB history.
yeah
Care what anyone says.
yeah. So if he, I don't know if he can ever do that again, but if he's anywhere close to that, then
So,
he can be in that argument for the National League MVP. And again, that depends of how if he can carry the Braves to
I'll-
Somewhat
playoff spot.
contention. I don't know if they can, but right, if they can be in the mix, yeah.
you're looking at downtown Atlanta, and I can't speak positively about the team that represents that
No.
lives far north. But I will say I think that the AL Cy Young is actually up. I just don't know who else would be available for it because Skubal is going to have Framber Valdez next to him, and if Framber has a good season because now suddenly it's the two of them going. I mean, whether it's they go, you get them one and then you get in the third. I mean, I feel like they could not necessarily wash each other out, but kind of tamper down the votes because you're going to go, oh well, Valdez is having a good enough year because he's a free agent next year too. He's pitching for his contract just like Skubal is. So, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
So
now again, listen, I know Skubal's great, but an argument can be made for Cindy's guy and my guy. Like Crochet last year was 18-5 with a 2.59 and 255 strikeouts and a 1.03. And Max Fried was 19-5 with a 2.86 and a 1.1 whip. So, like, those guys, again, have the ability to be in that conversation if Skubal comes back to the pack a little bit.
And as a Met fan, Jacob deGrom could just decide to be Jacob deGrom again. And
I don't think there's pitches in that arm anymore. Every arm in the world's got so many pitches in it.
That's true. I thought he had flashes of it. So maybe it was just the flashes that I saw as a Met fan and was just like, oh, that's Jacob. I remember him, but he's not able to put it together full. Hey, it's possible. It's probable.
And I will say NL Cy Young. I mean, listen, why wouldn't you pick Paul Skeens? But I do like the young kid that the Phillies have, Christopher Sanchez. 13-5 with a 2.5 and 212 Ks last year.
I like him too.
He's a skinny one. He's really good.
Another guy in the American League that could possibly is depending on a lot of people like Seattle is Brian Wu. He was real good last year. Again, if that team wins the division and he's sub 3 ERA, sub 0.93 WHIP, that's like he did last year, and like 15 to 20 wins, I think he's got to be in the conversation too.
All right. Before I stay with last year, I will just say quickly, I think the biggest challenge if Shohei decides he wants a Cy Young, which is what I've heard him say, or apparently heard pundits say, if he decides he wants a Cy Young, he could just go for the Cy Young, and that's how Juan Soto wins the MVP because Shohei's concentrating on the Cy. So Juan, I mean, not that Soto does a 40-40 season and does whatever with the Mets, leads the league in stolen bases or comes second or has a 40-40 season and leads the league in walks and on base percentage, like he does, then. And Shohei's like, I'm concentrating on this. Last year, Shohei concentrated on hitting and won the MVP. Last year, Cal Raleigh, as was noted before, hit 60 home runs. So I'll ask this, as was asked multiple times. Should he have won the AL MVP because he was a catcher and played, 159 games behind the plate while catching for, as Cindy has already said, one of the better pitching staffs in Seattle?
No,
you're going to say no as a judge. So as a Red Sox fan, Mark,
I'm going to say yes. He should have won the MVP.
Is that because you're
for all the reasons you just said? Led his team to a division title, manage that pitching staff, hit 60 home runs. Yeah, I'll give it to him.
Just as a reminder. Aaron Judge's batting average was 70 points higher
Oh, I know.
It
I get it.
was.
And Cal Raleigh, I'm just looking at the numbers again just because we're
Yeah.
talking about it. Cal Raleigh's
Yeah.
OPS was 948, which is
pretty dope.
tremendous. That's
tremendous.
That's a great OPS. It is. That's a great OPS. Judges was 1.144. That's
It
like
was
200 points higher. Like, come on.
I mean, the argument is that it becomes value, and if Judge isn't on that Yankee team, you know, it it's not that. It's not even that if Judge was. It's more that if Cal Raleigh's not on that Seattle team,
Right.
they're near.
But
where they
let's
are.
not pretend like that's ever entered the baseball writers'
Yeah.
real
Well,
consciousness.
I almost feel like maybe it hasn't in a while, or maybe we're just looking at it through the lens of the other leagues because the NFL has basically become who's the best quarterback, and the NBA is who's got the best stats. Whereas
Right.
baseball has previously, at least I'd have to look back, but I feel like at
It's
least
given it to a lot of guys on mediocre teams. It has.
it's done things like that where it truly is the most valuable player as opposed to just the guy with the best stats.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't make that deep of a, the Cal argument is that he caught, that he, that's the only.
I will say this, as a Yankee fan and a Judge fan, I would not have died on the hill if the Cal Raleigh got it. I would not have.
And that's the best you could argue for, because as has been said, and I want to say, I believe, Matt Wright, who's saying Marks and everything like that, he was going to be on this call, and I will, because I have a chance to, I will say his answer, because Chris pretty much said it, which is hell no. I get it. He's a catcher. He hit 60 bombs. Aaron Judge led Major League Baseball in nearly every other offensive category.
Yeah.
And he ended with, I shall.
And wait,
for insult to King Judge. So
I know you're not arguing for it necessarily, Martin, but you're the most anti-dinger guy in the history of baseball. So I only want to hear it from you.
The home runs wasn't my thing. I told you I stood on the fact that he was a Gold Glove catcher, and he was the catcher behind one of, if not the best pitching staff in the league. That's where his true value came in. The 900.
Martin, you're way into the weeds. Nobody gives a shit.
I know.
I like that you try to. Nobody cares that he caught the best pitching staff in baseball.
Hey.
Because if so, Brooks Robinson would have 7 MVPs. Because of how good he was at third base.
I thought but he's got a couple MVPs.
He has one, I believe.
All right, well, I'm thinking he's probably got a couple that were in the
Michael Jack Schmidt has 2.
It was a World Series I might have been thinking about when it comes to him. But speaking of third baseman, I feel like Jose Ramirez from the Indians has been great for the past 3 to 5 seasons.
8 years.
Usually, I was going to say he's got at least 3 to 5, all team third, all pro, whatever. When they do the all league thing where he's the third baseman on the team, but there's 3 baseball fans on this call. We all know Jose Ramirez, but I feel like very few other people know about him. He barely gets mentioned. He's probably 5th in the AL MVP voting last year, or at least top 5. But
he was 3rd.
He was 3rd. Okay, he's
okay. 1,
there.
2. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
While
8.
He's counting.
8 of the last 9 years, he's been in the top 10 in MVP voting. Like 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 4th, 5th, 3rd.
And if I didn't mention his name, it probably wouldn't get mentioned here or ever again by anybody else, unless you live in Cleveland. Mark, can you think of anybody else who it's completely forgotten when it comes to awards like this?
Like Jose Ramirez?
Anybody else? Jose Ramirez? Is there anybody else you can think about?
Not really. I think, it seems like it's always like recently it always seems like it's every year it comes down to Judge and Ohtani. Am I wrong? Is there any other names like that? Last year it was Cal Raleigh, but he kind of came out of nowhere. But not a guy like Jose Ramirez has just been consistently awesome for a small market team that I think they made the playoffs the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And they have no other offense on that team. Nobody else you can name.
Well, they had Lindor a few years back, and then
maybe
Lindor.
like
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying there's the occasional splash of somebody who's there along with Jose Ramirez. I'm just, you know, it's what was I gonna say?
The
It's
two other guys I would have on my list, like you're saying, are Julio Rodriguez in Seattle, who's been their
okay.
most consistent player over the last 5 years. Um,
I can think of another one who also plays third base, who's completely been forgotten.
who's that?
He's in San Diego now, but
Oh yeah, Machado.
Manny Machado,
Yeah.
not as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah,
And here's the guy with all the talent in the world, and the last 2 years, it really looks like he's been putting it together, and then he kind of falters. There's not a more talented, physically gifted player than Ellie De La Cruz.
yeah. But the guy, Christian. I think the guys that you're like Ellie De La Cruz and like Julio Rodriguez. Like Julio Rodriguez is 25 years old. Like he's still,
Yeah. And De
where
La
like
Cruz is 24.
yeah,
And
Jose Ramirez is 30. Like he's
I was,
33, and
Yeah, he's been around.
Machado's a little bit older. So
but
I
I'd
see what
argue, good.
I see. No, but understand what like Martin is saying about the guys that are consistently
That have been
excellent.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
consistently produced.
basically
But yeah, and
I
that's
feel like when I'm saying it, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off
yeah,
just so I can clarify. It's Kirby Puckett. It's a guy
Right.
great for a decade, but you know, unless you're a true in the depths, in the dirt baseball fan,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
Those
But again, I think your guy's it. Like, I mean, Mark said it. I think Frankie Lindor's there, right? Like,
yeah,
but
he's
see,
a little bit older, and he's consistently,
but
you know,
but Lindor's got a shoe deal, and I'm sorry, Julio Rodriguez, I've seen in like a commercial, and Ellie De La Cruz is on the cover of the MLB, MLB the Game type. You know what I mean? It's like they get
well, I guess then
national.
the other guy you might say is Ketel Marte,
Hmm. Marte's kind of in that. Yeah, he's. Well,
who
and I
nobody
don't.
outside of Phoenix has heard of.
I was gonna say, and Corbin Carroll kind of gets a pass because
yeah,
he's got the
he's
Rookie of the
still
Year
young. He's
award.
still
He's still
young
the
too.
young one. He's with like Rodriguez and De La Cruz, I think, kind of
What
the
about
next.
what about Schwarber? Does he not get enough? Is he?
Yeah.
He's got a ring, and he can't go in Chicago without getting a drink. So I
Schwarber.
What about I can't plays first base for the Phillies. Why can't I think of his
Harper.
yeah, Bryce Harper.
because
Yeah.
he's Bryce. That's another. Bryce Harper's way too loud for that. It'd be like who are the guys in the Orioles
He's just
now
turning down all our suggestions, Mark. Is really what it is.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
that I'm trying to say it's you guys would have a better idea who is supposed to be great at the Orioles, who's not been great, but now that Pete Alonso is their first baseman, you're going to actually see them and hear about them because it's going to be
Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah,
There you
Gunners
go.
And the other
might
kid.
make a comeback. Yeah.
And who's the other guy?
Hutchinson or something, isn't it their catcher?
Hang on one second. It's not Gunnar
Oh.
Henderson and Jackson Holiday is the other young guy.
Adley
And
Rutschman.
Adley Rutschman, but he's older. He was a college guy, went to the minors a little bit.
Yeah.
So
And he was never as good as like Jose Ramirez and Manny Machado.
Yeah, Rutschman is more of
if
a
that's where you're
Rutschman
setting the bar, those guys are,
was
I am
more of a
setting the bar
leader
there.
type rather than a stat guy. He was a great handle the pitching staff guy, Martin.
yeah. I would
Well,
put I'd put Gunnar with like the Jose Ramirez, Julio Rodriguez and the
Right, Bobby
Ellie De La
Witt
Cruz,
Jr.
Bobby Witt Jr. Yeah, those like that. They're still like in their mid 20s. They still got a ways to go. Like even Otani and Judge are
both in their 30s.
they're in their
Yeah,
they're in their early 30s, so they're still in their prime, still playing like they're in their prime, but it might not be too long before those guys start to fall off. Dare I say?
Yeah.
the voice of Mark Sinabaldi there. Not only is he the author of The Redemption File, he is also the leader in the TerminalPod NCAA Tournament group on
That's right.
ESPN. It is up you'll be able to see the standings on the description for this podcast on
As I say,
martinkessler.com.
give it some time.
He's currently the leader, 20 points ahead of Hetching Mall. I don't know who that is, but that's the name that's there. Those are the picks. Look, all the picks will be posted. I'll have an update during 3 out of 7 on Sunday night, unless I forget. Tampa Bay was routinely forgotten for years, and I feel like for the last decade. But like DJ Khaled, all they do is win. Well, all they did was win for the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
not last year. Both the Rays and the Braves didn't finish above 500. And I add the Braves there because whether it's the national media or just in general, everybody seems to believe the Rays aren't any good or the Braves are going to be great and everything like that. And I feel that they're wrong half the time, especially when it comes to the Cobb County Braves because they're their own separate identity. Is there any other player or team that you guys feel is somewhat either highly overrated or player or team? Because I feel like the Braves are consistently overrated just because they're the Braves. And everybody remembers them as America's team because TBS pumped them out into everybody's living room for years and years and years. And now that they're not there, they're just not as good. Anyway, I could continue on.
I would say the Blue Jays, but they finally, after 30 years of me, everyone telling me how good the Blue Jays were, they finally
were as good
It
as
only
the
took 30 years.
It
Oh,
takes
watch out for the Blue
30 years.
Jays this year.
Yeah. Well, because the Blue Jays, they had everybody's kid with Guerrero
But
and
even before that, everybody watch the
wait,
Blue
hold
Jays.
on.
Better watch out for
I'm
the Blue
trying to remember.
Jays.
I'm trying to remember about the previous iteration of those teams. I was going to say, is the
Kelly
Vlad
Gruber
Guerrero
and
team? Oh, Kelly
no,
Gruber.
no, he actually
No,
won.
I was going to say that's going back. That's going back.
No,
Cindy,
but I'm talking in 2012, before all the Guerrero Jr. and whoever was on the fucking team. Every year there's a pundit that goes, watch out for the Blue Jays in the East. Watch out for the Blue Jays.
Mark, you got any teams that you can think of that are you consider or player that you can believe overrated or somewhat
Um,
overrated?
well, no, I don't. No, not really. I don't know. Maybe the Phillies because it seems like they get to the playoffs and then kind of what have they done the past few years in the playoffs?
Keeper out some way somehow. Yeah, because Bryce doesn't have anything above his head, so no, they've not
Right.
won.
No.
A team that could possibly compete with the Dodgers in a playoff series in the National League, and falling
That's
short.
who's always said to be the going,
Yeah.
the
Well, you have to
last
say
3 4 years.
somebody.
Yeah, and you have to say somebody, and realistically, you can't say the Braves. And I mean, like, and
Well,
as
the Braves.
far
I
as
mean, listen, the Braves won a title in this decade, so
Mhm.
it's not
Yes, they
like
have. I can still find a way to.
hate the Braves. No, I get it. Mets fan
There's
living in their territory. No, I get it.
it. Well,
The
I
pod,
don't.
well, could the
I live
Padre?
in the city of
What about
Atlanta.
could the Padres fall into that where it's like, oh, the Padres
That's
gonna,
not a bad one. They're the Blue Jays of the National League.
yeah,
Watch out for the Padres.
they're gonna compete with the Dodgers. They're like the Dodgers, like
Yeah, the
rival,
Padres could
and
fit in there
yeah, and
because
Watch out for the
they don't do it.
Dodgers.
it's going to be the year that you Darvish finally gets it together
You are
and he's going
112
to
years old.
Yeah.
and he's still pitching for the Padres and that between Manny Machado and what was it Tatis and
Tatis Jr. Yeah.
and who's the
Then
third
they
one
got
they have
Xander
out there?
Bogarts.
Well, now Xander just got out there, but they had a third who I'm thinking of. They
Bogarts has
had
been out there for a while.
Cinny.
Couple years, like 2 years, I
Really?
think. This is his third
I thought
season,
this
I
was
think,
going
in
to be.
San Diego.
Is it really? I thought this was going to be the second season. I thought you guys moved him last year. No?
I think it was the year
Thought I was,
before.
thought I was talking to baseball fans, but
Xander
I,
Bogarts signed with the San Diego Padres in December of 22.
yeah.
so who'd you
There's a
guys?
lot of
23,
Oh, no, no, no,
24,
no.
25.
I'm thinking.
This is his
I
fourth season with the
apologize.
Padres.
I apologize. I'm thinking of the guys that you moved off to the Giants last summer.
Rafael
Devers. Yeah.
Devers is who I'm thinking of because that was
Yeah.
part
Right.
of it was Bogarts and Betts and Devers that were going to
Right, and
be
now they're all playing the
more
NL East. Or the
yeah,
NL
My
West.
my memory when it comes to this stuff was like it's shit.
No, yeah, I'm always like 2 years off. Like,
Yeah.
I think it just happened.
yeah, it could be, it should be. I feel like
Like I think
It
my
was
dad said, wasn't the Final Four at the Meadowlands like 10 years ago? I was like, that was 1996, Dad.
I feel like we were talking about the Dodgers being the upper comers just a couple years ago. And now and the whole thing was they said it back then is they were going to build their farm system and build it up and they weren't, I mean, this I guess so when did Magic and everybody buy the Dodgers? Was that a
Oh,
decade ago?
I don't remember.
Because
Yeah,
that's
no, I
when
don't
this whole
remember.
thing started as far as the Dodgers, the result of that was the starting point when Magic and everybody said we're going to buy in and we're going to do this and that. And now we're seeing the fruits of it, which is they've won the last two, and as is projected, they're going to win their third straight.
Okay.
So,
Well, okay, so who on that team did they develop in their farm system?
Who cares?
I mean, it doesn't matter. They've won 2 World Series. They're probably going to win a third.
I'm just
But
looking at their Will
Will
Smith
Smith, Will Smith,
and Max
okay,
Muncy.
okay, that's 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everybody
None of
else
the
there are
pitchers.
bought and paid for from
Yeah.
free agency.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, Kershaw.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
He's
he's
gone
not on
now.
the team anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying he was part of it last year,
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. No, and he's been
but
part of this run. I mean,
they'll argue. I mean, I'm not going to argue it for him, but
I don't
yeah,
think there's an argument. I hate the homegrown argument. And I'm not
yeah.
saying you're using it, Mark.
No,
The
yeah,
No,
objective
I'm not.
is
No,
the objective is to win.
yes,
yeah, yeah, no. Well, I
and
mean, well, just because Martin said that when they were going to develop their farm system, and I'm like, they haven't developed what was the last player they developed in their farm system? And
Right.
and being the Red Sox, the Red Sox did it all. Like, I mean, they developed they have developed the farm system, but they were guilty of it too. They'd go out and just spend money on free
Yeah.
agents, and part of me wishes they still did that. Once they don't do as much as they used to, but
And
it's nice that whatever that the balance is. You got to it's nice to have a prospect that you drafted and brought up through the minors that develops into a good player. It's nice to watch and it's nice to see, but it's also nice he made a splash in free agency and you know sign that big bat to fill a spot every here and there.
the argument for
yeah, and again,
building
I'm
a
not going to
real,
get into a Red Sox Yankee thing, but
I don't know,
who's the most beloved Red Sox in the last 25 years?
Noma,
The last
David
25.
Noma.
Ortiz.
David Ortiz, yeah,
He wasn't a guy. He was the fucking scrap heap signing too. He
I
wasn't
know.
even like.
Yeah.
You said the last 25 years. Noma is
You
still
think
within the
Nomar's more
last.
popular than David
Oh,
Ortiz?
not at all. But I like saying Noma. It's like saying Noma. But yeah, no, it is Ortiz, and yes, of course he got bought in. So the question, and I guess I can delve into this. The entire we're both all three of us are baseball fans. Anybody listening would be a baseball fan. We're gonna hear about how this is all going to stop and there's not going to be a season in 2027 and blah this and blah that and the salary cap's needed and the Dodgers are spending money and the Red Sox are spending money and
Oh,
the
by the
Red
way, I'm going to
Sox
interrupt you. 2019 is
please.
when the Guggenheim Group bought the Dodgers.
Okay, so it was 2019.
Yeah.
So in
Go ahead, make your
5 years,
point.
no, the point is it just the fact that there are enough loud billionaires that don't want to spend their money, as we've been saying, that is going to cause and force MLB into a lockout?
I think there's going to be some sort of work stoppage. I don't know if it'll necessarily affect the regular season next year, but I do think there will be some sort of labor strife. I just think it's come to that point.
And so my point being, then isn't this labor stoppage, work stoppage, however it is, just because there are some billionaires that don't want to spend their money? Cindy? Sorry, I'm
I mean,
calling
I
you by
guess you could look at it that way. It's like why doesn't the owner, why doesn't the Pittsburgh Pirates spend more money than like why is their payroll the way it is, or what was that? Didn't I send you that meme, like that the cap hit that the Dolphins were gonna
That's
take it on Tua was
yeah.
more than the Miami Marlins payroll,
Yeah.
so. But
Well,
but it's also, you know are those teams, are people going to watch, are people going to Miami Marlins games, or I know when you don't put a good if you don't put a good team on the field, people aren't going to go for the most
and,
part. But
and that's the thing.
I mean, right? So
Well, I mean,
uh,
Pittsburgh, you mentioned Pittsburgh, and
yeah,
their what's the word I'm looking for? What they are doing for this season is they've actually signed a couple of
I
bats to
know,
kind of get behind
bad
their
example.
no, but the examples are there. It's like Cincinnati has Ellie De La Cruz we're talking about. They have Hunter Green. They've got a quote young core of players. Are they going to that we have to question and think about, are they going to spend money to try and develop and get better around that core of players, or are they going to just sell off? Shouldn't be something. I mean, it's like I don't think there's any other the other sports don't have this conversation because they're spending there's 3 months of the year they're talking about salary cap. This appears there that there's knowledgeable sports fans about the cap and whose contract is going to get, I mean, that we know about dead money and things like that, that accountants would be talking about, not sports fans. Like when would that shouldn't be something that I care about. I mean? How's my team going to work around the $3 million if they cut this guy? And I don't even know if that applies to the NBA salary cap anymore because I don't even know how that works. If it works at all, because everybody seems to be getting paid $50 million a year. But
Yeah, the NFL salary cap's one of the trickiest, most ridiculous things. It doesn't seem like it actually exists. But to go to your baseball group, and again, we're going to use the two extremes. The
mhm.
Guggenheim Group has over $300 billion. The Pittsburgh Pirates owner is worth $1 billion.
Okay.
So, the Pirates owner can't compete with the Dodgers. He does not have that money. So that's why you need to have a structure in place where the Dodgers can't defer all of their fucking money and just not care about it because they'll be able to pay it on the back end. If Nutting deferred all this money for 10 years, like the Dodgers
Mhm.
are doing, in 10 years, his family would be broke and destitute.
Okay. And counter, it's a slight one. Then sell the team because he's gonna make the Nutting family would make at least 5 times, if not, 7 times
Yeah,
what they
but
paid
maybe,
for
maybe
it.
not. What I'm saying is the baseball contract is guaranteed,
Hmm.
right? So you
I'm no,
you
I'm
you pay Shohei Ohtani that money and defer it, and Shohei Ohtani has a career-ending injury. The Dodgers can absorb that.
hmm I'm
Nutting
not just
can't. That's why he can't take the risk.
okay. So I still don't understand why the league, why the 30 other friends, the 29 other people, and they're actually 28 because the Dodgers aren't worried about it, should provide a safety net for those
Well, they
towards the
should. I'm not
bottom of
saying
the
they
billion dollar
should.
club. But
I'm
that's
not saying
yeah.
they should, but if you want teams to be able to be competitive, you have to then put in a salary structure where everyone fits within a smaller window salary wise. I'm not saying you have to give, you could cut out revenue sharing, but say everyone has to be within this window, like a hard window, like the NHL does.
I think if anything, it would be, I guess, because I just don't agree with you're 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 putting shackles on the sport purely because it's not purely, but
But you're saying the sport sucks. Part of the sport sucks because the Marlins and Pirates can't put out a
no,
competitive product.
I have
So
no
what do you
problem with
want? I'm
that.
not
I
saying
have
you.
no
I'm saying
problem.
I'm the
Yeah, no,
universal you.
the universal me, I don't know what the universal me wants because they seemingly want all of these teams to compete and aren't going to. I mean, it's not like the fans are going to follow because I see the Pirates are now. The Pirates are actually trying to compete, right? Right.
Yeah.
I don't think if the Marlins were competing that you're going to get the numbers of as far as quote the fans are going to show up at that stadium at the rate that would make it. You know what I mean? It's not going to calculate.
So then your point is just let them keep floundering, pun
No,
intended.
no.
Well,
I mean,
well,
I
that's what you're saying. Like, no one's going to show up anyway, so who the fuck cares about the Marlins?
no, I don't think
That's what you just said.
I'm stumbling around my words. I don't think that the Marlins owners would, because if they were going to put the money in to try and it's not just all right. Here's my
But I'm not just talking about the Marlins
no,
and the Pirates. We're also talking about the Diamondbacks and the Rockies
and the Reds and all these other things
right,
like
and the
that.
Reds
Yes.
and the Rays. So there has to be a structure that everybody fits into that's within $100 million or something. Again, I don't know the specific numbers, but you can't have a structure that's this far apart because then you're going to get the disparaging results.
And I'm recognizing the thing but so when you say disparaging results, it's because there's a top sort of tier, a top 6 or 8 teams that everybody has determined these are the only teams that can win a World Series because they're the only ones that are, you know what I mean, like the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Cubs, I guess the Astros were in. I mean, like that's the whole thing. I can start listing
Okay,
off the
let me ask
teams
you a
that are.
question.
Go
If
ahead.
I said you couldn't pick the Yankees or the Dodgers, you had to pick 4 other teams that could possibly win the World Series this year. You just named them.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Sox, the Phillies, the Cubs. So you're making your own argument.
I'm making my own argument. What that there
I
are
mean, you're
enough
making your own
teams.
counter argument that there's only those teams that can win.
Oh no, I could have kept going though. That's the whole thing.
Could
Toronto,
you have?
Detroit, Seattle.
Could you have Detroit? Really? Maybe one year?
Yes.
Detroit? I don't know about that.
Are you talking about this year or talking about on a consistent basis?
I'm talking this year and on a consistent basis.
Detroit
When has
can win.
Detroit been a consistent contender for the World Series? Every couple of years, every once in a while?
Okay.
Over the last 15 years?
Yes. I mean, they did. They had a good run with Jim Leland. They had who am I thinking of? Who is who who has 3,000 hits who was in Detroit for a second and a
Miguel
half.
Cabrera. But to
There
go
you
to
go.
City's point from later about our memory, that's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, the Red Sox bitch slapped them in the ALCS in 2013.
Like
That was like the last
Okay.
postseason, like the last
until the last couple of years when they got a guy Tarascuba who was I mean Martin, I understand your point, but you talk about the Jim Leland Tigers, like Mark just said, he was
That
the
was
manager
20
from
years.
06 to 2013. So that's 13
Okay.
years ago. That's a decade and a half ago.
Okay. So they were competitive for a decade and a half, and then they had a little
No, they were competitive
downturn.
for 5 or 6 years, and then but the MLB back then wasn't what it is now salary wise. That divide's only gotten bigger. We just talked about it when the Guggenheim Group in 2019, they just widened that gap.
So, and I guess I'm arguing for and against it, but I feel as if the there a salary cap shouldn't be the answer. As I guess is I guess my thought process.
I'm not saying a salary cap, but there has to be a salary window
there's
that you
got to be something.
98% have to all fit in.
As if it's almost it. See, here's what it really is. There needs to be a salary floor. If there's going to be a cap,
what did I just? Are you looking at my hands?
I'm looking at your hands, but I don't know if the cap, a floor is something. While it's spoken about because we're talking about it now, it's like I don't think people think about the floor as opposed to thinking about the cap.
No, okay.
Everybody talks
Fans
about
don't think about floor. Fans don't
Yeah.
think about floors, but the ownerships and the leagues do because all the other leagues have it. The NBA, the NFL, MLS, the NHL, the NWSL. They all have it. They all have a salary window that everyone has to fit into. The only one that doesn't have it is Major League Baseball.
my eyes are blinded because I look across the pond and I see the EPL, which spends as much, if not more so, than Major League Baseball, and has a big six of names that I could say like Manchester United and
Right.
Chelsea and Arsenal that are the ones that are always supposed to win and are in the big tournaments and everything like that. And then they've got other people who occasionally come up and show up and play there and then come back down, but they're still in the EPL, kind of like the Pirates and the Reds are still in Major League Baseball, but there's no cap. They just spend. And they have billionaire and Saudi owners and everything like that, kind of like Major League Baseball. I guess I don't
But do
know.
they have any owners like the Pirates owner who has 1/300th of what other owners have?
Yeah, because those
They
are the
do?
those in the smaller clubs that are let me think like an Everton. I mean, like there are smaller teams in the English Premier League, and that are up at the top, but aren't Manchester United, that aren't Arsenal. Like I could just start trying to think of clubs like Aston Villa, like I could name a bunch of clubs that you're not going to know, but are in the top form, the top league. They're just not the top six. You know what I mean? They're fighting
Right.
to try and get into that top six.
Right.
They're trying
When was the last time Bournemouth was a factor?
like you and that's where I'm going. I'm not enough
When
of
was the
the
last time Brighton or Burnley? Because they have this. I'm looking at the
Mhm.
salary. I'm looking at the ownership net worth of all 20
Mhm.
owners of the EPL, and it's got the
Okay.
same problem.
Okay. But but they're not gonna get a cap. What they're doing and what they have, and we're not the Major League Baseball can't ever do this because they have a government regulation, so the whole regulation system that I would really want
Relegation.
in relegation system, but it creates levels throughout English football. So there's that includes other teams, and they've got revenue sharing from the top. They're trying to install revenue sharing from the top down. They already kind of have some of it to that extent, but it's not anywhere close to what Major League Baseball needs to actually do to try and give some of these smaller clubs the money to try and figure out a way to actually be better. And this is a much longer conversation that could continue on and on. I'm talking myself into a circle as I'm saying it. Here's the easier question, and I guess we can get a shorter answer on it so we don't continue on with it. That the WNBA, which is what you mentioned, is one of the leagues that has a cap and everything like that before. They just got they had a whole brooding WNBA owners and the player association that's coming up and everything like that, and that it might lead to a lockout. And they were able to succeed and will have a draft and a expansion draft and a whole bunch of stuff like that and be able to start their season on time with Caitlin Clark. How much of that success is going to influence or translate over into the Major League Baseball Players Association and the owners as far as getting your stuff done? And I'll
None.
say it two ways. There's the way of that the women were able to get it done. Why can't you guys get it done? And the other side being, if you don't get it done next summer, Caitlin Clark and the WNBA are going to be live in prime and everything like that. They're going to be like that this summer, but you're going to have the games to go against you. If you strike next summer, they're going to be David Stern's dream of having professional basketball year round is going to come true. And Caitlin Clark's going to have the state's going to have ESPN all to herself. She's already going to have that, but you see what I'm saying? Like she's going to have all the highlights all to herself, and it's not going to take a huge chunk out of your money whenever you come back, but it's going to take a significant one, I would think. Or am I just talking to hear myself talk?
You're talking to
I,
hear
no,
yourself talk.
yeah, I don't think that they'll have any influence on what the MLB does because, as we know, MLB when it comes to these labor strikes and they're not smart. They shoot themselves in the foot, and um, that's my concern. You know what's going to happen is it's it's going to go that it's going to be a long it could go into the season and potentially um, uh, cancel, not say cancel, but but it could go on for a long time, and because and then nothing could get done. That's my fear. I
That's
hope
my
it
fear
doesn't get
too.
there, but but it said like I just remember when it was like when they were trying to work out the deal in the COVID season. It was like, and um they could have started in like like earlier in the summer, and they squawked about, I forget what it was, like they played a shorter season.
Yeah.
So
Well, at
it's
the
Yeah.
just
very
like,
least, at the very least, there
it's
was a global pandemic going on to shut
yeah,
that down.
I understand that. But they could have
Uh,
tried to make it work,
yeah,
for all of us that were, um, needed like and it would have been nice to watch a baseball game
yeah.
during that time. But
And
um,
I
but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I think that when it comes to this stuff, normally don't, you know, I'm not optimistic about it when it comes
Yeah.
to like labor stoppages in sports.
I I will admit I am my whole thought of anything, it's just anything to avoid a labor stoppage. That's really what it was. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
look, the WNBA got it done. Can you guys please? No,
yeah. If
there's what is it going to take? Whatever it
salary
takes,
cap,
just
no salary cap,
please.
salary
Huh?
cap, no salary cap, I don't care. Just don't don't destroy the season.
Right.
That's essentially what it
Don't be
is.
that.
Don't be that league.
Yeah,
Don't do that again. You know,
yeah,
I'm old enough that I can remember 94 and and was it 93 or is it just it's yeah, no,
94.
93 happened and Toronto just lost to the Phillies. No. No,
that's right.
Toronto, the 93 World Series
93
was
was Toronto, Philadelphia. 94, there was no World Series.
because Montreal was going to be the next Canadian
Yes.
team that was going to be there. And yeah, and Pedro and
Marquise
gosh,
Grissom and Cliff
ooh,
Lloyd and Cliff Floyd,
Moises
right?
Alou
Moses Alou.
and yeah, that I just don't want to see that again. And with that in mind, so I'll quickly go. So who you got? Who you got in the World Series? Chris, who you got in the World Series
I'm gonna
for this
go
season?
just to be contrarian. I'm gonna go Filthies and the Red Sox. So a World Series that I'm
Yeah.
guaranteed not to watch.
Mark, what you got?
How about I'll also go train. How about the Seattle Mariners and the New York Mets?
Ugh.
Ugh, terrible
Ah, don't
series.
do that. Um,
But again, we're trying to pick these teams that are not the Dodgers and not the and,
oh, if we're
and
just
we're
picking,
like
yeah,
oh God, no, not that. That'd be awful. No.
I'd want to see, not want to see. I think if we're going off of that mindset, then it'd be a Detroit Chicago World Series where Skubal and Framber Valdez pitch them into the AL championship and past the Yankees,
Right.
and that PCA has a MVP type season, and they get Suzuki back for the summer, and he comes back, and now suddenly they've got the hottest out. And is it Bregman who's playing third for them?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've got a nice little lineup there too. So I'm
No,
not
they're
saying
good.
anything.
They're gonna be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and who's battling them in the Central? The
Correct.
same teams that we're just crapping on, Cincinnati and
Milwaukee.
Pittsburgh. Milwaukee can be a wild card,
Yeah.
and the NL West can bite themselves.
The
Well,
Reds
actually, you know
could be
what though?
good.
It'd be Mets, Phillies, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Dodgers and Diamondbacks, Padres fighting out for the other spot in the playoffs. That's possible. That all sounds
I
possible,
mean,
right?
if I know you don't want to hear it, but if the Braves are healthy, they could compete too.
Watch out for the Blue Jays.
The Braves the Braves
I'm just saying,
have no.
if their
Go ahead.
lineup is healthy, their line. I mean, I don't know about their pitching. Might be not great. Might be
It's not.
spotty this year. But
Well, it's
so
not. It's not even that it's spotty. The pitching isn't healthy.
yeah,
What's it called? Strider just went down for half a season, and yeah, yeah. I mean,
Swellenbach and um,
I'm not worried about the Braves because their pitching isn't going to be what Braves pitching usually is. The lineup is going to hit. Acuna is going to hit, and Olson, and they might actually get something out of the center fielder number 3 who's out there. I'm not going to give him his full
Harris,
name.
Riley, Austin Riley, and
Yeah, I'm not big on Austin Riley, but I'm not big on the Braves. I'm just going to stop crapping on the Braves and come to a close like every Terminal podcast ends with a numerical trivia question. Uh, Trade deadline moves, they impact all division picks and races and everything like that, but none more than the summer of 2008, since we're talking past. That was the year where CC Sabathia went to said Brewers, and in 83 days, in 83 days, CC threw 7 complete games, including 3 shutouts. That same summer, 2008, I believe you guys, and by you I mean Mark, your team shipped Manny Ramirez to Les Dodgers, where he hit 17 home runs in 53 games, ended up finishing 4th in the NL MVP. Oh, I like the train in the background. Um, the Dodgers lost to the Phillies in that train, so it didn't lead to a championship. I'm sorry, both teams, both the Brewers and the Dodgers, lost to the Phillies in 2008 as they got ran over. But the third biggest trade in that offseason was Casey Kotchman and a minor leaguer to the Braves for Mark Teixeira. The first baseman would hit behind Vlad Guerrero Sr. for 54 games and help get the Anaheim Halos to the division series, which is about as far as they've gone. I want to say since, right? Because Trout's never taken them anywhere. So that
Correct.
might be about as long as they've gone. I'm giving Anaheim playoff history. But the bigger win was the draft pick that Anaheim got for Teixeira, who left for New York in the following offseason. That draft pick became Mike Trout. But the question I'm looking for is Teixeira, who smashed for 358 and a 632 slugging percentage in 54 games. The number I'm asking for is how many home runs did Tex hit for Anaheim in that short amount of time that led to New York giving him a boatload of cash? So
how many
since
games?
54 games for Teixeira, in 54 games, I'm sorry, in 53 games, Manny hit 17 home runs. So how many home runs did Teixeira have hitting behind Vlad Guerrero Sr., who, if you didn't get a chance to see that
I'll
wild
say
swing,
I'll say you said Manny hit 17.
Manny had 17.
I'll say 18.
18. Chris,
I
Sure.
was going to say 21.
you're going to go 21. 21 and 18 are the numbers. Thanks for listening. However, whether on Spotify or Pandora, if you're listening on Apple Podcast, please leave a comment. You can watch and comment about every episode at youtube.com/@TerminalPod. It's the channel for all your questions. The answer to the trivia question will be in the description for this episode. Chris, Mark, thank you guys very much. We'll all turn to Netflix now and start our baseball season. I'll be back soon enough with hopefully something better to put down. Take it easy down your life's highway and have a good evening.